upashritaha kama upabhoga parama etavat iti nishchita ashapasha shatai baddha krodha parayana ihante kama bhoga ardham anyayena artha sanchayan chintamaparimayam cha pralayantam upashritaha kamopabhoga parama etavadi iti nischetaha chintamaparimayam cha pralayantam upashritaha kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nischitaha chintamaparimayam cha pralayam upashritaha kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nischitaha
chintamaparimayam cha pralayantam upashritaha kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nischitaha
Chintamaparimayam cha pralayantam uparachita kamopabhoga parama etavad iti nichitaha
chintamaparimayam cha pralayantam upashita kamopabhoga parama etavad iti nishtiha
Chintamaparimayam cha Palayantam upashriteya kamam bhoga parama etivariti nishtita.
Chintamaparimayam cha Palayantam upashritaha kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nischitaha
Chintamaparimayascha pralayantam upashrita kamopabhoga parama etavat iti nischita.
Word-to-word meanings. Chintam, fears and anxieties. Aparimeyam, unmeasurable. Cha, and. Pralayantam, unto the point of death. Upashritaha, having taken shelter of them. Kamopabhoga, sense gratification. Parama, the highest goal of life. etavat. Thus, iti, in this way, nishchitaha, ascertain. There is another verse along with this. Asha pasha shatair baddha kama krodha parayana ihante kama bhogardam anyaye narda sanchayan. Translation. They believe that to gratify the senses unto the end of life is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, there is no end to their anxiety. Being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification.
So, this is Krishna speaking, and he's speaking about materialistic persons. There are many of these in the world today. Practically everyone falls into this category of being a materialistic person. So he's explaining their situation. And this was spoken 5,000 years ago by Lord Krishna, recorded by Srila Vyasadeva in the Sanskrit language. And before that, it was spoken 120 million years before to Vivishwan, the sun god. We can learn from this that this is the nature of the material world. This is not a new discovery that scientists have now discovered that there's anxiety in the material world. No. It doesn't need to be discovered. It's been since the beginning. And why? Why are they in anxiety? Because they have unlimited desires to enjoy the material world, but that's not possible. They want to do something that's not possible. It reminds me when I have traveled to Guyana. Have any of you ever been to Guyana? It's in South America. And it's tropical, it's almost near the equator. It's very warm. So, and they have particular birds there. And on the windows, they put, on the houses, they put some kind of reflective material that keeps the sun from coming in and getting too hot, because otherwise it gets... But the birds, they come up to the window and they see another bird. That bird is the reflection of themselves. But they think it's another bird. So they start pecking at that bird. Why are you in my place? This is my place. And the harder they peck, they think, well, the other bird is pecking back. So then they peck harder. And then the reflected bird pecks harder. And they don't learn. I know, because they come every day. Even I chase them away. I say, stop this nonsense. That's reflection. It's not another bird. But they don't understand. And they just keep doing it. And they do it year after year and generation after generation. That's a little bit of an example of the kind of foolishness that we materialistic persons are engaged in. We keep doing the same thing again. Prahlad Maharaj, the boy saint, he said, Punat punas charvata charvananam. Materialistic persons are busy chewing the chewed. Chewing the chewed means if someone takes a stalk of sugar cane and chews it, it's sweet. And then after he's done chewing it, all the sweetness is out, he throws it. Now if someone else comes over and says, oh, sugar cane. It's sugar cane, but all the juice has been removed. But if he chews it, he's not going to get pleasure. The material world is not a place meant for us to get pleasure. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita, Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. It's a place of miseries. And someone may argue, well, maybe some people, it's miserable for them, but for me, I'm having a great time. When I go to the amusement park, when I listen to the music I like, when I'm with the persons I like, I'm having a really good time. When I go to the beach, I'm happy. So, but it takes a little thinking. We have to be a little bit thoughtful. Because we think that I'm having a good time, but there's some fear, there's some anxiety there. Is there anyone who can say they have no anxiety, no fears? No one can say that. Why? Because even if you're flying on an airplane to a wonderful destination, you're looking forward to enjoying, but you're afraid whether you'll make it or not in the airplane. You see, I fly a lot, or I've flown a lot, so been in lots of airplanes. And it's interesting, when the plane is going very nicely, people are talking and laughing, and it's kind of convivial, social talk, and they're drinking there. And the plane starts going a little bit rough. All those talks stop, and they're very worried. Because they're in a precarious position, they know that. But this place is Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. Padam padam yadvipadam natesham. Danger at every step. No one can say, oh, I'm living in my own house. There's no danger here. I have security. A police department is only 2 miles down the road. I know karate. I've got everything covered. But your heart may attack you from inside. Who can say? Or the house may go on. There's so many problems. Hurricanes, tornadoes. Adibhautika miseries means miseries inflicted by others. What if I get some cancer germs? That's an attack. There's so many dangers. We can't overlook them. We can't say that they're not there. Well, I'll sweep them under the rug, I won't notice it. No, they're there, they're waiting. It's like if someone tells you there's a big black snake in your living room. And you say, never mind, just pull the curtain a little bit so we won't see it. We'll go on with we're watching an important show on the television right now. So you may have forgotten all about the snake, but he didn't forget about you. And when you're just at the peak of your enjoyment, then he may come and bite you. So don't be careless. We all know this because we've all experienced anxiety. But that anxiety doesn't go away because we're always afraid that something will happen to me. And who do we think me is? We think me is this body. That's what we think. So we're afraid something's going to happen to my body, to me. So I'm going to be frightened. I'm always going to be in anxiety. when you get on the freeway, it's like being on a battlefield. One mistake and you're finished. If you don't look if someone's driving and they see a nice scenery, there was one person I used to drive with. It was difficult to drive with him because while he'd be driving, he'd say, "Look at that mountain. Look at," and he really liked nature, which is not a bad thing, but at 70 miles per hour, it's a little difficult. He was getting into, look at those. I said, well, maybe we could look later, or very dangerous. One moment's ill attention, and even if you're a good driver, sometimes problems come. Somebody else may not be a good driver. They may not be attentive. It's a dangerous place, let's face it. And if you try to whitewash that or sweep it under the rug and say it doesn't matter, then you're just it's not being realistic, it's not being honest. How can you have a good time when you know that there's danger? When I was young, 5 or 6 years old, there was Cold War between America and Russia. And it was very serious, at least that's what it was presented, very serious. And everyone was talking about it, the television was talking about it. Here's how when the bombs come, here's what you do. You crouch like this, you get into the bomb shelter. Everyone had a bomb shelter in their house. It was dangerous. So I remember my mother and my grandmother were watching television, they were crying. It's going to be war, we're all going to be blown up. I went to bed, I had nightmares about the bombs all night long coming down. Of course now we say, I don't think about it. But it doesn't mean the bombs aren't still there, they're still there. And even if bombs don't get you, something will get you. But why don't we like to die? We don't like to die because we're eternal. Is the body eternal? Body's not eternal. So if we say, the soul is eternal, what's the soul? Soul is spiritual being, part and parcel of Krishna. As Krishna is the supreme spiritual person and the source of everything, we are also emanations from Krishna of a superior nature. Superior nature over matter. Stones don't have consciousness. Air doesn't have consciousness. Water doesn't have consciousness. But living entities do. The body doesn't have consciousness. The body appears to have consciousness when there's a conscious soul inside. As long as that soul's inside, then the body, when you look at the eyes, they're able to see you, and there's speaking, and there's thinking, there's willing, there's digestion, there's so many things going on. But if the soul is gone, they say net worth. Sometimes we're reminded of the net worth of some very wealthy person. His net worth is only there as long as the soul's in the body. When the soul leaves the body, that body is not worth anything. Say, well, here's Mr. Such and Such, his net worth was $4 billion. They say, oh, you have to pay us to discard this body now. It's useless. So, it's the soul that is the person, not the body. The body's like a dress. If the dress gets old and falls apart, let's say it begins to fray and falling apart, I don't get upset because I just discard it and get a new dress. Because I know it's not me, it's just my coverings, my clothes. Similarly, this body is just another layer of clothing. skin color, skin shaped, skin-like, and hairs. These are the decorations, our decorations, clothing that we're wearing. But they're not eternal. They're always changing. But the soul doesn't change. The soul doesn't die. The soul isn't born. The soul is eternal. Eternal means always existed. Sometimes they change the meaning of eternal. Sometimes people give a different definition. They say, once you're born, then you live forever. That's because they can't conceive of having existed forever. It's difficult to conceive that. But that's the reality. Eternal means no birth, no death. Always existing. In the Vedas it says, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahanam Yo Vididati Kama. So the living entities are, Krishna is Nitya, eternal. He's describing himself and the living entities. Or someone else is describing. Krishna is eternal, the living entities are eternal, that's us. Nityanam, the plural, they're eternal. And Chaito, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is conscious, and the living entities are conscious. So what's the difference between the living entities and God? One difference is Eko Bahunam Yo Vididati Kama. The one supplies the necessities of all the others. So as parts and parcels of God, we have godly qualities, godly nature. We're conscious, we're eternal, we don't change, we cannot be destroyed. But when we think we're this body, then we become bewildered and overcome with anxieties. What's going to happen? How do I protect my body? My heart is weak, my arteries are clogged, this, that, I'm worried. But actually the soul, he doesn't die, there's nothing to worry about. This body will wear out at some point. And when it wears out, we get another body. And what type of body we're going to get depends on what we do in this lifetime. Just like what your adulthood would be like depends on when you're youth. If you behave properly and study and do the things, then as an adult you'll be able to have a fruitful life. But if you're a juvenile delinquent and you disregard laws and engage in activities that are unhealthy, such as drugs and what have you, then your adult life will also be affected by that. So what we do now will determine our future situation. That's called the law of karma. It works in the material world, but it also works in the spiritual world. Because our original home is in the spiritual world. We're actually spiritual beings. This is not our real home. That's why we can't stay here. Everybody wants to stay. When the man builds a skyscraper or a big house, he's not thinking, he's thinking, I want to stay in this, I want to enjoy it. But after a short time, he's forced to leave. This is not our home. Home is the spiritual world. Home is a place where you don't have to leave. You're not forced to get out. Read the purport, please.
The demoniac accept that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life, and this concept they maintain until death. They do not believe in life after death.
There's what?
They do not believe in life after death. And they do not believe that one takes on different types of bodies according to one's karma or activities in this world.
If they knew that if they don't take care in this lifetime to behave in a particular way, or if they misbehave in this lifetime, they might become in their next lifetime a worm, then they would be more concerned about what they're doing. But they don't believe in life after death. Some of them may tinker with the idea, they may be open to hearing about it, but scientifically it's not being taught. In fact, it's outlawed. You're not supposed to teach this in schools. If you teach in schools that if you behave like a worm in this lifetime, then you get the body of a worm in your next lifetime, then that teacher would be fired. He couldn't say that. But that's actually the truth. The truth is that when you reach the human form of life, there are 8,400,000 species. And the highest species are the humans, or the demigods. And the lower species are quadrupeds, the animals, reptiles, the birds, the insects, aquatics, plants and trees. Different levels of awareness and consciousness. But when one comes to the human form, he has the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world and get out of this cycle of birth and death. But if he doesn't use it and he just acts like the lower species, then he flunks. It's like someone goes to school, and if they don't do their studies properly, instead of going up to the next class, they stay in the one, or sometimes they go down. Go down. You didn't utilize your time well, you have to study again. So going down means I have to go down and take a body of a reptile or an animal or a tree, or that's considered a waste of time. Why should we go do that? We've already done that. We were supposed to learn that stuff. We're supposed to prepare ourselves for the higher education. If you say, I want to go to college, but you go to college and they say, well, you don't even know mathematics, the addition tables. Say, well, I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, let's teach me anyway. How can we teach you? You have to go back and learn that. So that's a disadvantage of not paying attention during this life. This life is meant for self-realization, not sense gratification. But we're taught just the opposite, isn't it? Self-realization, who talks about self-realization? Seriously, not very seriously. Maybe a little bit as a hobby, as a kind of a fun thing. Yeah, we're smoking some intoxicant and we say, yeah, self-realized. That's not real. That's not taking self-realization seriously.
Their plans for life are never finished, and they go on preparing plan after plan, all of which are never finished.
And it's always frustrated, because even when they get old, their desires are still young. They don't have old desires, I just want to sleep all the time. No, what they really want to do is, and therefore they go to the club and they try to make themselves look young, and they do all kinds of things to try to become young again. Because nobody wants to grow old, nobody wants to become diseased. Ask any diseased man, how you like it? Is it nice having disease? He'll say, no, it's not nice. I wish I didn't, I'm trying to get over it. I'm taking therapy, I'm taking treatment. So how can we be happy in a place that's pre-programmed for misery? If there's old age, disease, and death, and rebirth again, how can we say that we're living a nice, happy life? Even if someone says, I'm healthy, I'm doing good, just wait a little bit. It's coming. Old age comes. Disease comes when you don't want it. And then they say, well, we're spending a lot of money on research, medical research. We're trying to overcome the diseases. Now we have artificial knees. When our knees were out, we put artificial hips, knees, artificial hearts. We're making so much progress. Who knows? Soon we may be eternal. Soon we may not have to die at all. Right? People are thinking like that. They are thinking like that. Even a very famous person who studied here in Kansas City, world famous, he froze his body. He was quite wealthy. He froze his body and told them, when you come up with the cures, then unfreeze me and cure the disease and I'll give you some more cartoons.
We have personal experience of a person of such demoniac mentality who, even at the point of death, was requesting the physician to prolong his life for 4 years more because his plans were not yet complete. Such foolish people do not know that a physician cannot prolong life even for a moment.
Yes, that's a good point. Time and tide wait for no man. You can't stop the tide and you can't stop time. But there's a way to transcend time. It's described in the Bhagavatam. Ayur harati vai pungsam adyanastam chayanaso nachita anita uttama shloka vartaya. That every day the sun rises and sets. Every day the sun rises and sets, and as every day passes, one becomes closer to death, except one who spends his time hearing about the glories of Lord Krishna. Then he doesn't have to take birth and death again. He becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. He's already eternal. It's not that one becomes eternal or doesn't become eternal. Everyone's eternal. But as long as we're in material consciousness, we're restricted to remain in the material world with these material bodies and the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. When we change our consciousness, then we can be promoted back to the spiritual world, and there's no more death, no more disease, only happiness and bliss, which is what we're looking for. We're trying to find that here. We try through intoxication, through in different types of pleasures and sporting, and we're trying to have a permanent place of pleasure here, but it's not meant for that. So what to do? Are you saying we shouldn't have a good time? You should have a good time, but you should have a good time while you're engaged in self-realization. Self-realization is the best time you can have, or Krishna consciousness. Because then you're making progress towards the perfection. You're on the right track. It's like, have you ever been on a trip going somewhere and you're having a great time because you're making progress. And then if someone says, oh, I just found out we're going the wrong way. No one says, well, let's keep going, we're having a great time. No, everyone says, oh, no. They were having a good time because they thought they were on the right way, but when they found out they were going the wrong way, they said, oh, we just wasted so much time. They don't want to continue going in the wrong way. So if we're intelligent, when we find out we're going the wrong way, we immediately say, stop the car, turn the car around, let's find out how to go the right way. Right? Isn't that intelligent? Isn't it? Don't just keep going the wrong way. Go the right way. So who knows the right way? Krishna knows the right way. Bhagavad Gita is the oldest book. Why is it the oldest book? Because Krishna is this original person. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. He's the original person, and he wasn't neglectful. Even in the material sense, he designed the material world in a way that you can live here, and if you practice bhakti yoga properly, as Krishna recommends, then you can get free from the cycle of birth and death. And even while you're here, you'll be happy. So we've given a few points now. We have a little time if there's any questions. We'll take some questions.
So, but do you say that self-realized persons do not suffer?
Self-realized persons do not suffer, that's correct. Because although they may be in the material world, they're not suffering. They're enjoying. What's the difference? Someone may say. You say the materialist is suffering. The difference is, have you ever seen a cat with a mouse in its mouth? Anyone? Was the mouse suffering or not? Terribly. Have you ever seen a kitten in the mother cat's mouth? Was the kitten suffering? Not at all. The kitten was just having a wonderful ride. No suffering. So the difference is that the cat that represents death, or the mouth of time, for the kitten, there's no disturbance, it's not troublesome. But for the mouse, it's death. So what seems to be suffering in the material world is actually blissful for a self-realized person, because he understands that it's Krishna's arrangement for him. He's not an anxiety, he knows he's eternal. When you find out you're eternal, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma means when you realize you're eternal, your soul, then you automatically become happy. Because there's nothing to worry about. There's no death. There's no disease. You may say, well, that's just self-hypnosis. Hypnotize yourself into thinking that everything's okay and I'm having a good time, but you're suffering just the same. No. It's not just self-hypnosis, it's scientific. This body, for example, is always changing. We're always changing the body. Every cell is changing, every moment. And after some time, all the cells are completely changed of the body, say 7 years. So that means that I've already changed my body. If I'm 28 years old, I've changed my body at least 4 times completely, every cell. So how can I say that I'm the body? I'm not the body because the body's changed. All the cells are gone. But I'm the same person. I have memory. And then someone will say, well, no, maybe you're not the body, but you're the DNA. But DNA is also material. Scientists wouldn't talk about DNA if it wasn't material. Science only deals with material things. So we're not the DNA, we're not the cells, we're not the body. The soul is eternal, spiritual. And if someone's engaged in self-realization or bhakti yoga, he doesn't have to take birth again in the material world. That's why he's happy. Not only that, but he's happy now because he realizes he's doing the right thing, he's going the right way. Just because people are laughing and giggling doesn't mean they're happy. There's many people that are giggling and laughing, but they're not actually happy. They're suffering. But a devotee, or one who's on the path of self-realization, he's actually happy because he's on the transcendental path, going back to Godhead. Thank you for that question. Question back there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I see you mention always Krishna, as a source of protection. But in a true sense, a devotee is also, isn't he, under the protection of his Guru Maharaj more than Krishna actually?
Well, spiritual master is representative of Krishna. He gets his authority or power or mercy or whatever knowledge he's got, it's all coming from Krishna. He's just a representative. It's like, for example, if someone comes to your door and says, I'm a representative from Spectrum. I can set up a connection for you in your house, internet connection. He's not actually the owner of Spectrum. He's just an employee, but he represents the whole company. So you can say he's a nice man, he's a good salesman, but if he acts in accord with Spectrum's law rules, then he's a good representative. If he deviates, then he's not helpful. But the spiritual master doesn't deviate, so he's very helpful. And he's powerful because he's representing the powerful Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There are some people who believe in God, and their philosophy is that God creates different species, including human beings. There is not a good explanation why that is being done. And there is complete disregard for karma or reincarnation. Do you have any comments on... and they think like a God creates animals for food or just for entertainment,
Yeah, one has to... It's a higher education. The idea that they believe in God, that's good. That's a good start. But it has to go further than that. It has to learn the science. And the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, they're meant for giving higher education so one can understand. When we say God, what do we mean? If you ask people, you believe in God, what is God? They don't know. But they're satisfied to not know. And in fact, when you offer them, would you like to know? They say, no, I prefer not to know. That's kind of, you can understand they're a little bit mixed up. You believe in God, but you don't know what He is, or whether He's a He or not, or who. How can you dedicate your life to someone you don't know anything about them? So we should want to know, at least. And the Vedas give vast information. Lord Brahma, the first created being, has a beautiful book called the Brahma Samhita. He describes what Krishna looks like exactly. Vyasadeva describes him. It's not that no one's ever seen God. That's a myth. They say no one's ever seen God, so we don't know. Maybe none of the people you associate with have seen God, but there are those who have seen God and have written songs and painted Him and so many things. Oh really? Yes. Take a look at the Vedas. The Vedas are the most vast literature in the world. There's nothing to compare in age or quality. So yes, Pocket Dictionary says God is the Supreme Being. But the Vedas go into much more detail about what he looks like, what his activities are, his associates, his abode, his philosophy, everything. It's all given. So one has to, that's what we say, self-realization, one has to take the time to go in that direction. We're reading the news and the sports and all these politics and so many things, which are all changing every minute and they have not very much value. Why not hear about God, Krishna? If we want to go back to the spiritual world, we should learn about that place to be sure we want to go there. If someone tells you, I can get you a free ticket to Hawaii, you'll say Hawaii, you'll go Google Hawaii. Ooh, it looks like a nice place. I'll take the ticket. You don't just take the ticket without knowing, you want to know something about the place you're going. Is that okay?
I have one question. Shiva asked, who is my father? He said, Brahma. They asked Brahma, who is your father? He said, Krishna, Vishnu. And then they asked Vishnu, who is your father? He said, Brahma. Can you explain this analysis, how it works?
Well, in Bhagavad, I don't know where that comes from, but Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the original father. Aham bija pradapita. I am the father of all living entities. That includes Brahma. Even the Pitamaha is coming from Krishna. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mattak sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. So we want to hear the authorized books by Krishna himself. Bhagavad Gita. There may be some misinterpretation or misunderstanding. It's not easy to understand the science, especially if one speculates. Sometimes people speculate that it might be like this and it might be like that. But if we hear directly from Krishna, Krishna says, there's no one existing before. Mattak paratanam nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Mai sarvam idam protam sutri manigana iva. There's no truth superior to me. That means there's no one before me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. And that's also confirmed by Brahma. Brahma says, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the original primeval Lord, who's the source of everything. So we take the words of Brahma, we take the words of Shiva. Shiva also says, the highest form of worship is worship of Vishnu. He worships himself, Vishnu, Sankarshan. So if we follow in the footsteps of Lord Shiva, he has his Rudra Sampradaya. He teaches that Krishna or Vishnu is this topmost, supreme personality of Godhead. He takes a position as a humble servant. And Brahma also, Shiva Varinchi Nutam, he also takes a position as servant of Krishna. So Krishna is recognized by all the great personalities, by Brahma, by Shiva, by Indra, by Durga, everyone, all of them, they recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajans. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a stretch of highway by my house, and the speed limit is 55 miles an hour. And at certain times of the day, everyone seems to be going 75 miles an hour. And so if I go with that, I'm breaking the law. But if I don't, it seems to be disrupting the flow of traffic. You know, what does one do in that scenario?
better to go the proper speed limit. Of course, I think there's a higher point being presented here as well, not just driving principle. But I like both of those topics because I'm an advocate of driving according to the speed limits. I drove Prabhupada and he wanted us to drive safely. That's another point. They may be driving at what Prabhupada called breakneck speed. That doesn't mean we have to do that. So similarly, because everybody is jumping off the cliff, the lemmings, there's a little animal. He runs and they all run, follow him, he jumps off the cliff, they all jump off the cliff. I don't have... Well. Anyway, it's called the blind leading the blind. If you've ever seen the goats, one goat or the sheep, one sheep follows another sheep. And if one sheep goes into the slaughter place, then they all follow in. So that's foolishness, that's blind following. If I see that people are going in the wrong direction, they're risking their lives, then I shouldn't follow them. I should take the correct path. And they may criticize me, but it doesn't matter. One great devotee said, people may call me a fool, they may say I'm proud, say I'm misled, but still my determination to serve Govinda doesn't budge. So if that was part of your question, that what to do when family, society, everyone's encouraging us to go in this reckless lifestyle. But no, we shouldn't follow that. We should be bold enough to go the proper direction. And then not just callously let them go the wrong direction, but go the right direction and encourage them to come the right direction. Like we did last night. We were chanting in the plaza. We had a great time. And we were encouraging everyone to chant with us. And many were chanting. So that's, in other words, instead of going in the wrong direction, we go the right direction and we show them how nice it is. It's nice to chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, we have time.
So we talked about that once one has found, I guess, this right path, that there's, or self-realization path, that there's not the suffering. What about anxiety? Is that completely void there, or is that something that stays constant?
What are we in anxiety about? About not fulfilling our desires?
What if our desires are spiritual, but there's anxiety about that?
What type of anxiety?
That it's...
Not possible?
Yeah.
It's too much for me? Yeah. But even if you try, let's say you try and you don't succeed. Arjuna asked that question in Bhagavad Gita. Your question is asked by Arjuna. He said, what happens to one who takes up spiritual life but doesn't make it? But he gave up the material life, so now he's a loser on both fronts. He didn't get he could have had the material pleasure, he didn't get that. He tried for the spiritual pleasure, didn't get that. Is he like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? You know, a riven cloud is one that breaks away from a big cloud and he just evaporates. So that was Arjuna's question. And Krishna said, no. If one engages in devotional service, there's no loss or diminution. Whatever advancement he makes, it's eternally to his benefit. If he doesn't complete it in this lifetime, let's say he makes 10% progress in this life towards the goal. His next life, he begins at 11%, right where he left off. No loss. So you can't lose anything. Whereas material things, it's always lost. It's all lost. You can't. How can you take it with you? They say that you can't take it with you.
And what about that percentage detail? What if one is hankering to know that percentage bar moving?
He wants to see the bar moving. He wants to keep a monitor in it. That's
what
nice.
If he's anxious about that?
Well, then you have to stay on the path. Stay on the path, you see the monitor moving. But you don't watch the monitor every second. You don't just glue your eyes to the monitor. You engage in devotional service, and then suddenly, I'll give you an example. New devotees, in the beginning they think, well, at least 4 times a day they think, should I leave or should I stay? So then they get over it, and that happens every day, 4 times at least. Should I go? All right, I'll stay. Should I go? And then, if they continue devotional service, then the next week, it only comes up 3 times a day. And then the next week, it only comes up twice a day. And the next week, only once a day. And after some time, they don't even think about leaving Krishna consciousness once a week. And then after a while, they don't even think about it once a month. That means the monitor, the bar's going up. Because I was thinking I should leave, maybe I should stay or leave 4 times a day. Now it's once every 4 months or once a year. That means you're making progress. So how many are you at now? How many times a day? You don't have to answer that question. Okay, are we ready? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai.
His Holiness Danavir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.